Bienvenidos, amigos y amigas. On behalf of the Hispanic Federation, I'm so happy to welcome AARP and all of you joining us today. Together, we're celebrating our community and learning how to take care of something so very important, our brain health. For us Latinos, family, tradition, and wellness are at the heart of everything that we do. Today's conversation is about honoring those values while learning simple, everyday ways to keep our minds strong. We're so glad that you're here. I'm excited to introduce our guest from AARP, Ms. Paloma Ferreira Gomez. Paloma is passionate about connecting people through strategy, storytelling, and social impact. At AARP, she helps make sure multicultural communities feel seen and heard. Paloma will share a little bit about the Staying Sharp program that helps people find easy ways to take care of their brain health so they can all stay active, engaged, and connected at every stage of life. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Paloma. Paloma, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Paloma Ferreira Gomez. I'm an audience strategy manager at AARP. And today we're diving into how to keep our minds focused, resilient at every stage of life.
Paloma, why is brain health such an important part of overall wellness, especially for our Latino communities?
Yeah, that's a great question. This conversation is especially relevant for our Latino community, where family connection and wellness are really at the heart of everything that we do. And we have to prioritize not only our brain health, but our overall health to be there for the people that we care for. So next slide. Yep.
The Staying Sharp program makes supporting your brain health simple and accessible. Can you tell us a little bit about how this works?
Yeah, so the AARP Staying Sharp program, it's an online platform that shares simple science-backed tips to help support your brain health. The initiative empowers us to take charge of our cognitive well-being through everyday habits. So being active, eating well, staying connected, and all content and features on this program are offered for informational purposes only. Nothing on the platform should be considered or used as a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Yeah, next slide. Next slide. Yeah, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the 6 pillars of brain health. So I think once we go through them, they'll be a little easier to remember. So the first one being be social. So staying connected with friends and family. It helps reduce the risk of cognitive decline. Eating right. A brain healthy diet includes leafy greens, berries, whole grains, things we've heard before. But I think an important thing to remember is what's good for your heart is also very good for your brain. Third, managing stress. So stress can impair memory and cognitive function. So mindfulness, breathing exercises, hobbies can help really reduce your stress levels. Next slide. Ongoing exercise, physical activity increases blood flow to the brain and supports the growth of new brain cells. Restorative sleep. Quality sleep is essential for memory consolidation and brain detoxification. So I think sleep sort of helps with everything, but important for your brain. And engaging your brain, of course. Keep learning. Puzzles, reading, trying a new language or new hobbies. I recently started to needlepoint, so I'm trying to learn new things to do to engage my brain that way.
So,
and
I saw that you mentioned that 150 minutes of exercise per week is the goal that we were trying to get people to sort of target for that. It's interesting, the mind-body connection that we often forget about, and we think that we got to exercise to look good in this, but we're often not looking at those internals of things that are happening with that.
Of course, yeah. You really think sometimes we focus on the aesthetic, the outward. That's so true. But really, I don't really think about the blood flow going to my brain very often. But after reading about this, I'm like, this is really important to keep up with. But yeah, so here are some interactive tools and resources from Staying Sharp. So some of the things they offer are cognitive assessments. So it provides a snapshot of memory and attention ability on any given day. They also have lifestyle check-ins. They give you a view on how you're performing and enable you to learn about strategies that help support your brain health. Yeah. I think it's really great to get started today, and I think it's important to make it a daily habit. Whether it's calling a friend, going for a walk, or trying a new recipe, every small step really counts. And you can sign up and learn more about Staying Sharp at stayingsharp.aarp.org.
So I know there's going to be a lot of questions coming in through the chat, and I just want to get started. There's a couple that we've had from our staff, and other questions that have been asked since we've been promoting this. Can you tell us a little bit about? We know that staying connected with friends and family is very important. I mean, we're Latinos. We're always on the phone with our family members. We're having parties at una
FaceTime.
cosita.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if we go into WhatsApp, everybody has that conversation with their
Oh,
family
yeah.
members. But I'd like to know, how does being and staying social actually help keep our brains healthy and strong?
So I think it reinforces, it stimulates the brain and it boosts your emotional well-being. So I think staying away from that isolated state just really helps you sort of engage and stay connected through connecting with your family members. So I think it's important to boost your emotional well-being.
We've all heard the phrase, and you mentioned it in one of the earlier slides. What's good for the heart is good for the brain. What are some foods that actually help support brain health?
So I think the things to focus on are leafy greens, berries, also healthy fats, avocados, which I love. So yeah, just all the things that sometimes may not be our favorite things, I can say for myself, but things that we need to focus on and know that it's helping our overall well-being.
See, I'm right with you on that. It's very difficult for me to maintain that, eating that salad and making sure I'm getting those healthy greens in. The blueberries and stuff like that, I don't mind as much because they're sweet, but we need to make sure that we remind many of our Latino friends and families that a piece of aguacate or avocado is not all you have for vegetables.
Right.
You need to push a little bit further.
Yeah, or maybe not the extra sugar on my berries.
Yeah, leave that off. Don't sprinkle it on, please. And if you're going to put it on, measure it before.
For sure.
So, stress. We know stress is something that we all face on a daily basis, whether it's family, friends, environments, whatever it is that's affecting us at that moment. How does chronic stress affect our memory, our focus, and what simple practices can we do to help sort of stave that off and stay healthy?
Yeah, I think one of the important things is really basic is mindfulness. I know meditation might not be for everyone, but whether that's meditation by yourself or maybe going to a breathing work class, breath work. I know I've heard a lot about that. But just things that can take your mind off your everyday, whatever brings you the stress, and move your mind away from that. Whatever that may look like for you specifically. I mentioned earlier I like to needlepoint, but maybe that's reading a book for somebody else. So it's really just finding what calms and quiets your mind.
We don't often look at, again, I go back to that. We look at the physical, we look at, we go to our doctor to take care of the internal, but we often don't put those connections together, that those stressful moments can truly throw us off track and cause issues that might make us feel a little bit different. We know exercise is one of the ways that we keep the outside sort of looking good, but what's good for the body can also be good for the brain. What are some of the connections between that mind-body connection?
So I mentioned before increased blood flow from exercise, it supports the growth of new brain cells. So that's really important to keep up with. So that's what they suggest, to aim for 150 minutes of moderate activity per week. So again, I really think it's about finding what everyday habits you already have, and giving yourself kudos, being like, okay, that actually does support my brain health, and making it a daily practice. So I'm not only doing this to look a certain way or reach a certain goal, which are important for sure, but also know that maybe not beating yourself up if you didn't take a 45-minute class, but maybe the 15 minutes it still counts. Like every small step counts, whether that be for your physical health, but also for your brain health.
So we just had a comment come through from John Paul Hayworth, and he mentioned about meditation and mindfulness and how that really, helps people in many forms. I think that's something that is extremely important for many of us, especially many of us that are getting a little bit older, and in that, as we say in Spanish, la tercera etapa de edad, so the third stage of life. That mindfulness and meditation can take a lot of different forms.
Right.
Those connections, what does that do to help people stay engaged at times?
So it's mental stimulation builds cognitive reserve. So any sort of mental stimulation, again, whatever that looks like for you, and maybe it could be a combination of things. I saw a comment up there, whether you're meditating while going on a walk, then you're, doing two things at once that are good for your body and for your brain. And if you go to the next slide, I have a QR code there. So if you want to scan and get started, Staying Sharp is a free platform for AARP members. So you can scan the QR code and learn more. And there's also frequently asked questions for any other questions you may have.
Fantastic. Oh, we have a question from Yvette Pena. Does one have to be a member to access AARP Staying Sharp? And is it for everyone? And if so, how do you join? Is this QR code a way for them to connect?
Correct. Yeah. So if you join, you can visit, you can review Staying Sharp things, not as an AARP member, but to get the full access, you can sign up and learn more with the QR code.
Thank you. Thank you. Learning new things helps build what you can call cognitive reserve. And not many people hear those statements. Can you explain what that means and give examples of how people can challenge their brains in new and exciting ways?
Yeah. So I think one of the ways is trying puzzles or reading. I think that mental stimulation, whichever way it comes, can be really helpful for your brain health.
So in sort of putting all these parts together, all these tools and resources that are available to Staying Sharp to help people check in on their health, what are some of the things that you'd advise them to do to sort of make that jump, something that, start a new sort of habit? How are the ways that they can get involved and get their parents and families and friends involved?
Yeah, so I think it's more like sharing the information, right? So if they have access to it, maybe finding a really good article that Staying Sharp has that provides a really good recipe, and then going over and saying, hey, I'm going to try this new recipe out and making dinner together. And I think really sharing that and saying, oh, I chose to make this specific recipe because it's good for your brain, it's heart healthy, it's brain health healthy, and just showing that it doesn't have to be super difficult or super scary to try and make those little habits.
For all of you that are connected right now, please feel free. We'd love to hear from you as well. And as we finish the presentation, we're going to have additional question and answers. If you have any questions that might not have been addressed throughout the presentation, please feel free to post those, and we'll try and address as many as we can within the time constraints. We're very excited to hear more about what you think on and what this topic means to each and every one of you. I'm very, very interested to know how do we get people trying this program a little bit more, learning. I know that within the Staying Sharp program there are cognitive assessments.
Yeah.
How do we get that? How does that work?
Yeah, so once you sign up for Staying Sharp, you can have your profile. So you can go into your profile, check the different assessments. So they ask you a series of questions, and it gives you a snapshot of where you are that day. So I think that's really important to see where you are when you start, and then maybe in a couple months' time, check the cognitive assessment again. But yeah, it's just a fun way to see where you're at and see where you're improving, and maybe making note of those different habits that you made, the changes you made, and sticking to those. Because I think, speaking for myself, I think that's the thing that is difficult, is when you start a new thing and you feel really good, and then if you fall off, it's sort of like, oh, do I need to go back to that? But I think getting back on the horse per se is important. Just staying consistent with the small steps.
That's so important to highlight. Many of us, we attempt these new endeavors, and a lot of times it takes, a couple of attempts and failures, and not to be afraid to try something new and feel, a little vulnerable at times, and maybe, pull those family members together and make it something that you're doing with friends and family. So it becomes a little bit more, a little bit less scary to try these new practices. Here we have a question from Opal Abreu Suriel. She wants to know, what are some foods that really support brain health? Now, we mentioned a couple. We have the green leafy vegetables and the fruits. But I'm curious, is there something else? And I mentioned one of those earlier that many Latinos always eat on the side of their plate.
Yeah, definitely also whole grains, lean proteins, and omega-3s. So whatever you can find, the healthy fats. I know I mentioned avocados, but fish has a lot of omega-3s, whole grains, and more lean protein, not so much those red meat, which I fall for that.
While delicious, not always.
Latinos fall for that, I think.
Well, we know from we know a lot of issues that happen and affect the Latino communities in regards of type 2 diabetes. Many of our Latino plates growing up culturally is, a bunch of rice, some beans, a large portion of meat, and a piece of aguacate or avocado. We're not including those salads and stuff. So I think it's important for us to take these moments to truly shine a light on what that diet starts to do for us, especially as we get older.
Yeah, and I think for me, just speaking personally, it's more of the adding colors to your plate. I think growing up, it was easy for me to, with the beige and the pastas and that, but making sure your meals have a lot of variety of color. I think that really helps with making it like a whole balanced meal. Same with exercise. I think with exercise, it's finding what sort of movement you enjoy, and not having it feel like it's something you have to do, but something you get to do, and you continue to get to do, and that it's good for your body and for your mind.
I cannot highlight that one statement so much. People often get overwhelmed by that 150 minutes. And
right.
In many of the classes that we have and many of the things that we talk about in the realm of health with our Latino and really every community member, that 150 minutes can be divided into 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week. Break that even further, and you got 15 in the morning, 15 in the afternoon. So long as that body continues to move, we know that it does help engage the mind-body connection.
Yeah. And what maybe it's not the exercise that day, but maybe it's practicing that new puzzle or that new book series that you wanted to start, or and balancing that out. Not every single day has to look the same. And some people like every single day to look the same. I know my husband has lists and follows his lists and does that every single day. That doesn't always work for me, but it's just finding what does work and sticking with that, or trying your best to.
Yeah, and I think that some of the things that we do when we join support groups, whether it's familial support groups or you have your friends that you might have a challenge. I often in my senior years, I'm now beginning to play a lot more crossword puzzles. And if you use the online ones, some of them are free. You can join with your friends and family and challenge each other to see who could solve it quicker, and it becomes a little bit easier to toss that in your daily routines.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a great point. I think that competitive nature within our families sometimes, I think if multiple people sign up for Staying Sharp, and then they can see, oh, this is where my cognitive exam and my cognitive assessment, and just sort of connecting over that and seeing where your differences and similarities lie.
So far, I think this has been quite the inspiring and engaging conversation. I truly am excited that we're able to get in front of our communities and start this conversation. It's something that we don't often talk of. Paloma, if we could highlight one takeaway from what we've talked about so far, and I know that there might be some additional questions pouring in, but up to this point, one takeaway that you think is extremely important for brain health, what do you think that is?
I think It's identifying the habits that you already have that support your brain health and making it a daily practice. So whether you, like I said, whether you just want to focus on being social that day, so making that connection, calling that friend, or managing your stress with a book or a puzzle. I just think doing it every day, little bit every day, it really makes a difference. So remembering that the small steps count, I think, is the biggest takeaway.
Every journey starts with that first step, right?
Yeah. And also remembering that this is what we get to do and not what we have to do.
I'm wondering, and this is just a question that was asked around my office, are there any, and you may or may not have the answer to this one, and I know the answer for when we talk about brain health, it can mean so many different things, both medically and just in our everyday lives, but are there any early signs that maybe we should be taking this a little bit more serious and really getting involved in sort of watching after our or our parents or family's brain health?
I think just being precautious in general, I think that's really a question that somebody has to answer. That's an individual answer, really, in everyone's lives, especially working like with any medical professional. But really, I think getting ahead of it is important. So anything that's preemptive and you're getting ahead of it now, whether that is for your physical health, but also for your mental health, because like you said, it's all connected. So we have to keep ourselves whole from the inside out.
I'm really, again, I want to shout out AARP. I want to thank you, Paloma. This has been, so far, it's been a really, really engaging and fantastic conversation. I want to remind those of you who have joined our little conversation here, if you have any parting questions, we're happy to answer them as best we can, knowing that sometimes, we may not have those answers, but we can point you in those directions if that's something that's of interest to you. Amigos, let's do our best to attempt to make brain health part of our everyday lives. Your brain health matters. Check in, stay connected, and go ahead and visit stayingsharp.aarp.org to begin your journey today. I want to give a huge thank you to both Paloma for being here with us today, as well as AARP for staying presente and being a part of our communities, sharing these important informations and your wisdom with us. Gracias to each and every one of you that have taken time out of your day to connect and showing up for yourselves, for your families, and for your future. Please do your best to take a look at the Staying Sharp program on AARP's website. We had that link on there in the QR code. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We're always here for you. And Paloma, thank you so much. If there's anything you want to add to that, I appreciate your time so very much, and it's been a pleasure talking with you.
Just thank you so much for having me. And yeah, it's been a great conversation. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it.